So feel free at any point in this video to go ahead and pause the video to read the articles that I post in the video, so you can read extra information on it, and to also read any of the infographics that you see. Hello everyone, this is going to be episode 1 of Tech Talk with MGNate. And in these videos we are going to be covering many different technology topics, and the technology topics that we're going to be covering is going to be 99% smartphone. So like the new chips that are going to be being released, the latest technologies that are in them, or any new phone that's just really groundbreaking. So this is your main host, MGNate. Well, my real name is Nathan Bear, and this is the man behind the camera, John Bear. And of course we're in his sunglasses he's always wearing. So let's get on with it. So the first point of interest is going to be the new SoCs that are going to be coming out, and everything and pretty much them in their entirety. So the first one is going to be the Samsung Exynos 2200. So this chip is radically different from any chip we've ever seen from Samsung before. And the reason for this being, first of all, for the CPU, its Prime Cortex X2 core from ARM is clocked lower than their mid cores. It's clocked at 2.5 gigahertz, and its mid cores are clocked at 2.52, which is just, or 2.8. Basically, their main cores.
Efficiency cores might be 2.5.
No, so the efficiency cores are going to be 1.8. That's textbook with between all the three chips we're going to talk about, and they're all running Cortex A510. So let's just get that out of the way. So yeah, the main core is clocked lower than the mid cores, which are clocked at 2.52. So it's just like, this is just really weird. And in that fact, the single core is about 600. It's like about 693, I believe. And this is gonna be off Geekbench 5. And the multi-core is 3100. That's good for a flagship. This is just kind of disappointing because we were expecting Exynos to be a big comeback. The 2100 was a big comeback for Samsung, because if you don't know, in the past, Exynos has just been way behind Snapdragon, and they've always just overheated. But maybe this is just a way for them to not overheat. Keep in mind, this is re-release software. It's going to most likely improve. And on the GPU department, this is big. The Samsung Exynos 2200 is using AMD RDNA 2 graphics, and the RDNA 2 graphics are running off of AMD cores, and these cores are actually from the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, but they've just been optimized to the mobile platform. And in that retrospect, that's just crazy. So AMD is now in the mobile world. That's huge. So perhaps these lower cores these lower clock speeds for the main cores in the Samsung Exynos 2200 are probably to maintain heat. Because if you didn't know, the new GPU is going to be able to ray trace. Ray tracing is extremely hard on any GPU, and the CPU is also clocking really high, which that just never works well for the Samsung Exynos chips. Then it's just gonna be laggy. Like, it's just gonna be extremely laggy. So that's probably for better thermals. So to summarize it up, the main core is a lower clock speed than the mid cores, and it's gonna be bringing a new AMD graphics with ray tracing. So moving on to the Snapdragon chip. Actually, before that, do you have any opinions on the Samsung Exynos 2200?
That is really kind of surprising and bizarre in my mind that they're using a lower clock speed like that, But I guess they have the reasons for it, whether it's for better temperature control of the chip, or who knows why. But it'll be interesting to see. Or maybe they figure with the GPU being so robust that, maybe 4 mid-frequency cores, basically, frequency-wise, is going to be better overall. But we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see, because The 2200 has a pretty good multi-core score of 3167, but then its single-core score is kind of disappointing right now. So we're just gonna have to wait and see what's going on with that. But yeah, but I'm excited for it to come out. You know, there's a chance that it's surprisingly going to be lower performing than the other three flagship chips, but we'll just have to wait and see. It's going to be an exciting year in 2022 to see how all these play out.
So the Snapdragon, there's always not much to talk about because of course they're all slightly higher frequencies: 2.8, 2.84 to 3, 2.42 to 2.5, and 1.8 just is going to say 1.8 gigahertz. So for the main core, Cortex X2 at 3 gigahertz. The mid cores, Cortex A710s, clocked at 2.5 gigahertz, and that's going to be in a 3 cluster. And then in a 4 cluster is going to be the Cortex A510s. And the GPU is going to be using the Qualcomm Adreno 730. I mean, it's going to be slightly faster, slight improvements all across the board, like Qualcomm always does. But the one thing that's kind of been sticking out is that this new Adreno 730 GPU, since they knew they were going to get left in the dust by the Samsung's new chip, so it's actually defying expectation. The new Adreno 730 GPU is defying pretty much all the expectations that anyone has had on this. So, any opinions on it?
I guess because Qualcomm came out and said that their GPU, their 730 Adreno, is more robust than what everyone first thought. That's kind of exciting. So I can't wait to see how it performs. I hope it has kind of that oomph of the 888, but with better thermals. You know what I mean? Like the 888 was just so disappointing and so exciting, but then disappointing. Well, let's hope the 898 can kind of carry on that power, but with better heat management. But we'll see. I am excited to see if it does any better. So, and like with the Xiaomi 12, for example, they're putting in new higher and higher tech cooling systems inside the phone. So we'll see how that can control the temperature.
And basically Qualcomm pretty much just kind of came out and said, it's like our chips, they're flagship. They're gonna run hot for high performance, and so you're just gonna have to kind of figure out a way to manage the heat. And Xiaomi, because with Xiaomi, they have these new crazy charging speeds. As we know, 120. They're really famous for it. First ever phone will have 120-watt charging, and they're gonna stick with it. And especially with these new, even hotter, more power consuming CPUs of the future, Xiaomi came up with a new revolutionary cooling technology called, it was like liquid vapor cooling. I'll show you the chart of it on screen right now, so you can kind of see, take a look at it, so you can kind of see what it does. So, and with this, Xiaomi's going to be able to pretty much manage the heat a lot better, because on their past phones, their Mi 11 Ultra ran pretty hot. With their giant camera sites, it ran pretty hot. So that's gonna be good. So moving on to, in my opinion, my current favorite chip out of these three, the MediaTek Dimensity 9000, formerly known as 2000, but it's gonna be called the 9000. So first off, the Prime X2 core, the Prime Cortex X2 is going to have a clock speed of 3.05, slightly higher than the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which is actually not going to be called the 880. It's going to be they're changing it to 8 Gen 1. So that way, there's no future conflicts with their chips. So from here on out, rest of the video, 8 Gen 1 for the Snapdragon chip. And the MediaTek Dimensity 9000, its mid cores are going to be clocked at 2.85 compared to 2.5. That's just insane, because if you didn't know, the two other flagship Android chips are running on Samsung's 4nm process, while the new Dimensity 9000 is running off the TSMC 4nm process. And in history, the TSMC 4nm process, it's always just been more efficient. TSMC's process has always, in manufacturing, has always just been more efficient. And I think they're kind of relying on that to kind of justify for the higher clock speed that they're putting in these cores. And then once again, Cortex A510, 1.8. That's literally what everyone runs. Even in the iPhone and in the Google connector, still 1.8 for the low cores. And on the note of this, there's actually been a lot of reports saying that the Dimensity 9000 could rival the iPhone A15 Bionic in the multi-core score. Which, if you didn't know, in the new iOS 15.1 update, they actually nerfed the performance from 4,700 in the multi-core down to 4,200. So that'll give a good chance for Android to finally catch up in the performance-wise. So that's exciting. But then the GPU is just insane. It's using the new Mali G7, the new Mali G710. This is the highest end GPU that ARM has to offer, and MediaTek bought it up and they put it in, and it dropped an Antutu score of over 1 million. Vivo has been testing the 898 and the MediaTek Dimensity 9000, and when they tested it, most likely it's going to be dropping one of the Vivo X series phones. It dropped a score of over 1 million in Antutu. First ever Android to do it. So that's some crazy news. This is the first ever MediaTek chip that is matching spec to spec and actually beating the Snapdragon equivalent spec-wise. So that's some pretty groundbreaking news. And the only annoying thing about it is it's not going to have support for millimeter wave. And if you don't know, pretty much all Android phones that do not have millimeter wave do not get released in the US and have a US variant. So that's kind of disappointing. So what are your thoughts on the MediaTek Dimensity 9000?
It's looking like they're finally bringing all the pieces together to have the king of Android chips, hopefully. I mean, I'm excited, too, that the Dimensity 9000 can do ray tracing, too, which obviously, when it comes to mobile gaming, ray tracing is just kind of a prototype idea right now because there's not a lot of gaming apps, things like that support it yet, but at least it's cool to think that, hey, we have things you would normally see in, say, the PS5 in a mobile device because gaming is going mobile. Not that the consoles are going to be, discounted in any way, but more and more people are gaming in the mobile space. So yeah, this is exciting to see the advance in the chip technology. And I do like, especially, that it's built on the TSMC 4nm architecture platform because that's probably the number one chip maker. So
yeah, and just another quick note on TSMC. TSMC, they're right now collaborating with Sony to make a new, completely separate factory in Japan to kind of combat the chip shortages. But they're not going to be making flagship chips there. They're good on that. They're actually making mid-tier budget chips in this new factory with Sony. So they're going to be making like MediaTek's like Dimensity 900s and below, and maybe they'll also process it. This is just going to be a full-on chip factory. They're going to be making Samsung Exynos chips, Qualcomm, and like just almost all the different chips you can imagine. This is like TSMC's kind of opening this up as kind of a big like, basically kind of like how a bunch of organizations and companies are trying to combat climate change. They're trying to combat the smartphone chip shortages that have been plaguing. So that's cool. All right, quick intermission. Right back. So next topic is going to be the new Android flagships, and the two main ones that we're going to be discussing here is the S22 Ultra, the Xiaomi Mi. They got rid of the Mi name. It's just Xiaomi 12, not Xiaomi Mi 12. So the Xiaomi 12 and the Motorola Edge X, also known as the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. So first, the Motorola Edge 30 Ultra. This is the first time in a long time that Motorola has used the X in their marketing. And whenever Motorola has used the X in their marketing, it's always been a top spec flagship. And what we're expecting from this is 12 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM, which LPDDR5X Samsung just completed the research, so Android flagships are going to come out with this new, faster and more efficient RAM. We're expecting, obviously, the UFS 3.1 storage, 898, and it's going to have a 144 AMOLED glass front and back, 6.1 screen. I'm going ahead and put up on the screen right now, so you can take a look at all the specs for yourself. And this is really exciting. And the one thing I'm hoping for is for them to release a US variant of this phone. In any way, if they release it as the X, that's literally going to be like if AT&T somehow releases an AT&T variant of the Motorola, like that's going to be like an instant pickup. Like they're like this is just going to be crazy because Motorola has finally started to get back in to the flagship game, which is very exciting because they spent a couple years out of it. Then they released the Motorola Edge Plus from 2020, or was it 2019?
2019, I believe.
Yeah. So 2019 they released the Motorola Edge Plus, which was their 865, which had the 865 and that was that flagship. Which, I mean, it didn't sell in huge numbers, but it did sell pretty well. So then next year they released the Motorola Edge 20. In the Edge 20, it wasn't it was like an entry level flagship. It still had 12 gigs of RAM, and it had the Snapdragon 870, which was like an entry level flagship. It wasn't 888, but it had the 870. And now they're bringing the X back in marketing, so it's gonna be a top spec flagship. So are you excited for it?
Oh yeah. It'll be interesting to see which markets are gonna get it. I mean, definitely Europe's gonna get it. China's going to get it. Well, no, I don't know if Europe's going to get it because they already have the Edge 20 Pro. So, Motorola tends to like to spread their marketing and phones in different markets. So we're due a flagship in the West, like the U.S. market specifically. So I'm hoping we're going to get the global version of it.
And the new G series for the Motorola's all the new G series have been like the three lower end G, like G51, G71, and all those have been sent to India as like more budget phones. And the G100 will most likely be sent off to Europe as a phone. So hopefully that means we're gonna get the Motorola Edge X as a US phone. Next, the Galaxy S22. There's a lot of new things coming out. So the first most important thing is the new Samsung's E5 color panel. If you don't know Samsung, they've been the king of displays for they've had a grip on it for like the last 2 years. Ever since they started manufacturing their 120 displays and started offering it for other companies, the Samsung Super AMOLED 120, it is everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. Like there's like a 90% chance that your phone is using it has a Samsung display. Like even Apple buys their displays from Samsung. Of course, they optimize it for iOS, but they buy the base displays from Samsung. So if you don't like Samsung, I'm just letting you know, you got a Samsung display on your phone. So
was the IQ8 the first phone to have that E5 display one?
Oh no, that's the E4. So the E5 display is going to be a new color efficiency panel. The pixels themselves are going to be more efficient. So that's why, actually, these new S22s are going to have smaller batteries than last year. But the new architecture of the new 898 is going to be more efficient, ARM v9 architecture. And they're going to be using the more efficient color panels. So it's going to be the AMOLED 120 adaptive. But so since it is going to be more efficient, they're going to bring down the million powers. And that's going to be needed because if you did not know, the new Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra is going to be turning into the new Note. So here's what's going to be happening. They discontinued Note. And if you wanted to know, right here, the Note 20 Ultra is the last raw Note phone. So that's going to be the very last raw Note phone that Samsung has ever made. And this new Galaxy S22 Ultra is going to be the new Note. And with the new, more efficient E5 display, and they're more improving adaptive display technology, they can make a smaller battery and have no battery compromises and fit that S Pen in there. So don't worry, Note fans. You're just gonna have to spend a little bit extra to get the S22 Ultra for Note if you want that Note experience. And they're gonna be this, and they're gonna be using the same type setup as last year. 108 megapixel main, a I believe it's a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 10 megapixel 3 times optical zoom, and a 10 megapixel 10x optical zoom. So any of your thoughts on the S22?
I think it has been needed for a long time to merge the S Ultra line with the Note line. I think it was a foregone conclusion because as much as I like the Note line historically, it did get kind of redundant. It was kind of frustrating that Samsung was just pretty much rolling out almost felt like duplicate phones, although the Note obviously had its special software and apps and stuff. But I think this is a good way forward.
Because they started blurring the line not too long ago. They started blurring the line, and eventually, I think it was like the Galaxy S10 and the Note 10 Plus. It just got so similar, same chipset, same amount of RAM, same display, same size. It just started to become so similar. Like, and I think they tried to change that with the Note 20 Ultra. You know, laser autofocus, really big display, 6.9 inch, the biggest display Samsung's ever put on any just standard flagship other than their folds. And they also put like slightly different software and improved chip, the A65 Plus. But then I think when they saw the issues the A88 was have it, I think they just went on ahead and took the chance to just move on and go ahead and merge the two. And one last note on it, no pun intended. The new design of it is going to be a water droplet design. Instead of having an entire like a camera bump on the side, it's just going to be tiny little water droplets, basically. Just their own little modules for each piece of the camera. And the last one we're going to be talking about, probably the phone making the most improvements of any phone, is going to be the Xiaomi Mi 12. On the first note, that new, way improved cooling system, you can go ahead and see it on screen, kind of how it works. You can pause the video and read through it if you want to. It's going to be way improved, 70% better cooling. It's going to be able to get that heat away from the processor way faster. Also, when they're charging, it's going to improve the charging, make it more efficient, and just probably make it even faster with that 120 watt charging. So they can improve the charging and also keep the heat down with this new vapor chamber setup. And they're also redoing their camera. Instead of going for this massive, almost 1-inch sensor on the camera, they're actually going for the Samsung GN5, which if you don't know, the GN5 is pretty much their flagship that they can't. So, well, this guy can explain the GN5 better than I can.
Yeah, it's a 50 megapixel lens, and it's gonna. I think it's gonna be able to offer the fastest like burst mode photography. Basically, it's going to have the quickest response time of any lens so far. It's going to really maybe even allow a little more light in. It's going to be breaking some new territory as far as lens goes on a mobile device. So yeah, it's kind of exciting to see what this lens will do.
And I don't think they're going to be changing the design too much. But I still think they're going to keep that little mini display on the back so you can take some really good, stunning selfies. And from what I've seen, there's going to be 3 more 48 megapixel sensors. I'm not sure if there's going to have the ultra wide and the telephoto, or maybe they might throw like a red depth sensor macro. But they're probably not going to. But well, definitely no macro because they've already put the ultra wide as a dedicated macro lens. So most likely that front camera will also be a 48 megapixel. And they're actually signing a contract with Leica to make their lenses. So Huawei, over the last few years, I think it's from like the P20 onward, they've had Leica lenses on. And basically, the Leica lenses, they're pretty much just have like this. You can explain it a little bit better.
I mean, yeah, the Leica optics have allowed Huawei to pretty much dominate smartphone photography since the collaboration started, and as well as Leica's original algorithms for color palettes and contrast and all these things. So it's really a winning formula now to see that torch get handed off to Xiaomi, because Xiaomi arguably is leading in camera smartphone technology. So you put Leica with that, with their lens technology collaboration, if you want to call it that. So yeah, it's exciting to see what that's going to turn out to be.
And that's gonna about wrap up this video. So that's been our first TikTok with MGNate, and in the future we are going to be covering more topics. We would maybe like to get a consistent schedule, but that's probably most likely not going to work out because there won't be that much to talk about. So we're gonna definitely sit down and talk and really focus in and get into the nitty gritty. Like when the new Galaxy S22 comes out, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of it. Almost every tiny minor detail, compare it to past flagships, see what they've improved, what could they improve on, and all that for the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed the first Tech Talk video, and feel free to comment down below with anything that you want to have us cover in future videos. And if you comment on it, we will definitely make sure to cover it. Or if you just want me to reply to your comment of my opinion, I will. So thank you for tuning in. This has been Tech Talk with MGNate, and I'll see you on the next episode.
You better make sure it's stopped.